Today, Apple unveils its latest suite of redesigned iPhones, the first ever to support 5G capability. Plus, Prime Day 2020 kicks off today, but Amazon's competition is now stronger than ever. And finally, as movie theaters struggle with their finances, Disney shifts its entire entertainment focus to streaming. I'm Mackenzie Sagalos, and this is CNBC After Hours. Stocks hand in their first loss in 5 days as all three major indices finish in negative territory. The S&P 500 was weighed down by bank stocks. The financial sector was the worst performing among the 11 S&P sectors. These stocks fell after Citigroup and JP Morgan kicked off earnings season, which are those few weeks each quarter when public companies open up their books and tell us how much money they did or did not make in the previous quarter. Now, Citi and JP Morgan actually had pretty good results. They beat the street, as they say, meaning that they made more money than Wall Street analysts were expecting. Now, despite positive reports, both stocks finished lower, along with peers Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Morgan Stanley. And then, in the case of the Dow, one of the worst performing stocks in that index pulling it lower was Apple. The tech giant fell more than 2.5% today, after launching 4 brand new iPhone models. We should point out that Apple is actually up more than 6% yesterday, as investors enthusiastically looked forward to the unveiling. So that did help to offset some of today's stock action. These new phones have 2 big features, a physical redesign and 5G connectivity, that some analysts say will lead to an iPhone supercycle. Kif Leswing covers Apple for CNBC.com, and he can break down all the new phones, plus what on earth Wall Street means by the term supercycle.
So Apple had one of its famous launch events where they released their new iPhones. And these are the new model iPhones for 2020 and 2021. It starts with the iPhone 12 mini, which is $699. That's their smallest, least expensive new one. There's the iPhone 12, which is $799. The iPhone 12 Pro, which is $999. And then the most expensive one, which is the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is $1099. This is a wider range of phones than Apple has ever released in a single year. So really what Apple has done is create a wide range of iPhones to hit different consumers at whatever price they're willing to pay. So the 12 Pro compared to the 12 has a more advanced camera system. It's got an extra lens. And then the 12 Pro Max, Apple says it's the biggest screen that they've ever put on an iPhone. That's really the highest end if you want the top. The mini will obviously appeal to price-conscious consumers because it is the least expensive, but it's also the smaller design. And I think, the 12 is the main line. This is the new phone. Performance-wise, the biggest improvement is they all support 5G. Now, what that means for you when you bring home a phone from the store remains to be seen. But, you can expect if you get a 5G phone this year, in the lifetime of the phone, the 3 years, these networks will come online. But in the United States right now, the networks are limited. They're in certain areas. The super cycle is in 2014, Apple released the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus. It was the first time they released, a bigger size iPhone. And in the next 4 quarters, they sold 232 million of them, which many analysts believe is still the one-year iPhone sales record. Now, Apple makes most of its money selling hardware. So when analysts are trying to get an idea of the value of the company over the next 12 months, they're really guessing how many iPhones Apple is going to sell and at what average selling price. A lot of Wall Street types look at the bulk of people who have held on to their phone for a few years and wonder which years are going to be the big sales years and which ones are going to be the down years. There's a lot of hope with 5G, and this is 3 years since the iPhone 10 first came out, that this is going to be a big year. I know Morgan Stanley just increased their estimates, but we'll have to see because there are less weeks in this quarter. They're going on sale now. The quarter started, so the super cycle remains to be seen.
Okay, let's get to our sound check. Here's a roundup of the day's biggest action and what the top newsmakers and business leaders had to say on CNBC's airwaves.
We have a strong conviction that the average investor still is underinvested, and they're going to have to be putting more and more money to work over the coming months and maybe even years. So I believe we still have more to go on the upside, even in front of probably rising infection rates.
It's going to take some time before into the spring, early part of next year, before we start to see profits as well as cash flow positive results. But the reality is that this is going to take some time. But you think about if we can get to that point in 12 months' time, it's pretty remarkable.
If there is a stimulus, which is about the size of the CARES Act, then that will add about 2 percentage points to growth in 2021, which means that instead of the U.S. returning back to 2019 levels only in 2022, it would return much faster in 2021 to 2019 levels.
It was about 36 hours ago that we were advised by one of the sites that there was the adverse event. We're letting the independent Drug Safety Monitoring Board do all their analysis, and we should hopefully have an answer and a proper direction going forward in short order.
Amazon's annual Prime Day event has officially arrived, but with a few changes. To start, Prime Day is in the fall this year when it's usually in the summer. The e-commerce giant delayed the promotional sale as it worked to restore its normal shipping in the wake of the strain put on its logistics operations by the coronavirus and widespread stay-at-home orders. And that brings us right to the other big change, the competition. So yes, big box retailers like Target and Walmart have tried to counter-program Amazon's lucrative Prime Day in the past, but the global pandemic has pushed more consumers than ever to buy online. And now Amazon's competitors have had a lot of practice. The big question is, can the likes of Target, Walmart, and even Best Buy make a dent in Amazon's sales? Melissa Repko covers retail for CNBC.com, and she can explain.
While a lot of people know that Amazon Prime Day is going on, a lot of big box stores are trying to compete by offering their own promotions and having their own sales events during the same time. So with Walmart, they actually started their promotional event, their big save event, earlier than Amazon to try to get a jump start. They started on Sunday and they're going through Thursday. And Best Buy coincided with Amazon Prime Day, and so did Target. They're doing the same 2 days of the Prime event, and they're trying to do sales events that hopefully try to woo a few customers away from Prime. Amazon's known for speed. That's really their secret sauce, is trying to get things to people as quickly as possible. And the way that the big box retailers are trying to compete is by beating Amazon at its own game in some ways. So they're trying to use their physical footprint. And that goes for Walmart and Best Buy and Target. They all have huge footprints of stores across the country, and they can deliver goods to people a little bit quicker by having them pick up those items by curbside pickup. A lot of these retailers, Walmart and Target and Best Buy, have been serving customers throughout the pandemic with new kinds of services. So by having curbside pickup, they have gained some market share. With Target, their curbside pickup was a key driver in their sales. They saw more than 700% growth. And similarly, Walmart saw its e-commerce sales nearly double in the second quarter. Analysts predict that these big box retailers that also have websites and online shopping will see a bounce because as shoppers look for TVs or other items on Amazon, they may cross-check on another website and end up buying items from these big box retailers instead. The 2020 holiday shopping season will be different in so many ways from previous shopping seasons because there's just so many different dynamics. People are shopping in different ways. They're shopping online and they're trying to avoid crowds. So a lot of retailers are responding by starting their sales much earlier. Typically Black Friday and Thanksgiving night has been the kickoff to the shopping season. In an environment where lines and crowds are dangerous, all of the retailers are responding by pushing up the start date to October. And with Amazon's announcement that Prime Day would be in October, October essentially has become the kickoff to that holiday season. But there's also a lot of uncertainty in this holiday environment. We are also living through a recession along with a pandemic, and so holiday retailers just don't really know what to expect.
Okay, time for today's numbers round. First up is 60 million. Disney will entirely restructure its media and entertainment divisions as the company shifts its primary focus to streaming and Disney Plus, which as of August has 60 million subscribers worldwide. The move comes as the coronavirus pandemic has forced shutdowns of movie theaters across the country. Remember, Disney released its live-action Mulan film directly on Disney Plus, but that's not the company's only streaming service. It also owns platforms like Hulu and ESPN+. Next, 2.5. The Disney announcement is more bad news for the movie theaters, including industry giant AMC, which said today that it expects its cash reserves to be, quote, nearly depleted by the end of the year, which is just 2.5 months from now. Major films that were scheduled to be released in the fourth quarter have been postponed, and studios like Disney and our parent company, Universal, have pivoted to distributing some of their movies directly to consumers, either via at-home rentals or on a streaming service like Disney+. And finally, 25. A 25-year-old man in Nevada has become the first documented case of a U.S. patient to contract COVID-19 twice, and the illness was more severe the second time around. The man has since recovered, but his case raises questions about how patients develop immunity to the virus and how long it lasts, especially as case counts rise here in the U.S. as the weather gets colder and flu season approaches. That's it for After Hours, but before we go, here's one more thing to keep an eye on. We already know Delta Airlines had a rough summer. We even heard the CEO talking about it in our Soundcheck segment. But the pain for air travel companies is expected to keep coming. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll hear from United, and it will likely be just as ugly, as the entire industry continues to hope for that next round of relief funds from Congress to come through. We'll be all over United results and everything else happening during Q3 earnings season, so be sure to check out CNBC.com and download the CNBC app. We'll be back here in our home office every Tuesday and Thursday with new editions of After Hours, so be sure to catch us then.